Epstein hoped to seed the human race with his DNA. This is out of the New York Times, but there are a slew of articles all over mainstream right now regarding this subject. And I'll leave a link to the article in the description, but this is bizarro. He just set the bar at a whole new level for crazy.
No shit, Sherlock.
That child molesting f***.
So, anyway, he's apparently confided with a lot of top scientists who have been to his ranch, have been to his place there in New York. Apparently, he's been fascinated with transhumanism, and he has been interested in funding transhumanism, genetic engineering, artificial intelligence. And we know all of his charges for underage sex with these girls. It's just, I mean, this guy is beyond sick. But he really tried to, like, jam himself into the science community, and who knows what dirt he has on these people that have been to his ranch or his place there in New York in compromising positions. Now, I know that he's given a lot of money to some of these scientists. He's also interested in things like cryonics. He wanted to freeze his head and his penis. You can't make this stuff up, man. It's just crazy.
This is not natural.
So anyway, I mean, he's had Nobel Prize winning physicists. Stephen Hawking's been there. Paleontologist, evolutionary biologist Stephen Gould, Oliver Sacks. Famous neurologist George M. Church. Molecular engineer who's worked for identified genes that can be altered to create superior humans. And the MIT theoretical physicist Frank Wilczek, Nobel laureate. The lure, of course, to a lot of these people has been money. He dangled financing for their projects. Some of the scientists said, get this, that the prospect of financing blinded them to the seriousness of his sexual transgressions.
Oh!
That is truly appalling.
Think about that for a second. They said that the prospect of financing blinded them to the seriousness of his sexual transgressions. I want you to really think about that when somebody tells you that the science has decided or the science has determined something. The science is in on this or whatever. Apparently, if they can throw their morality out the window for money, then they would probably throw their morality out the window for just about anything. These people gathered at dinner parties and Dom Perignon flowed, even though Epstein doesn't drink, which is perfect for a Mossad honeypot.
Americans, you can never just say hello.
How about shalom? Hello and goodbye.
And peace, Agent Gibbs.
Not a lot of that when you're around.
Allegedly. Mossad honeypot. He stays nice and sober while he gets everybody loosened up and has those cameras going. You know, just thinking that's how it usually works. He hosted buffet lunches at Harvard's program for evolutionary dynamics, which he helped start with a $6.5 million donation. Others flew to conferences in the Virgin Islands, and some to his private island, including Mr. Hawking, which, yeah, wow. There was a cognitive psychologist, Steven Pinker, and he was invited by his colleagues. Some of Pinker's peers hailed Mr. Epstein as brilliant, but Mr. Pinker described him as an intellectual impostor. And, I guess so, because I believe he would fall in and out of, like, ADD moments and little childish comments, they said.
Let's take them down to Pine Barrens. That's South Jersey. It's perfect. It's fucking deserted down there. We take them in the woods, dig a hole, end the story. I got a shovel I use for digging the car out.
And he was willing to finance research that others viewed as bizarre. He told a scientist that he was bankrolling efforts to identify a mysterious particle that might trigger the feeling that someone is watching you.
Don't nobody want to hear that shit?
Yeah, man, come on. Nobody wants to hear that shit.
At one session at Harvard, Mr. Epstein criticized efforts to reduce starvation and provide health care to the poor because doing so increased the risk of overpopulation, said Mr. Pinker, who was there. Mr. Pinker said that he rebutted the argument, citing research showing that high rates of infant mortality simply caused people to have more children, and Mr. Epstein seemed to get annoyed that this guy wanted to, feel-good guy, he wanted to save the world, but Mr. Epstein seemed annoyed. And a Harvard colleague later told Mr. Pinker that he had been voted off the island and was no longer welcome at Mr. Epstein's gatherings.
What an asshole.
What a wonderful guy, huh? Then there's his interest in eugenics. We all know how that's turned out. I mean, this guy is really like the modern-day Dr. Evil. I wonder if somewhere on this island he has sharks with lasers.
Dr. Evil, it's about the sharks. When you were frozen, they were put on the endangered species list. We tried to get some, but it would have taken months to clear up the red tape.
You know, I have one simple request, and that is to have sharks with frickin' laser beams attached to their heads. Now, evidently, my cycloptic colleague informs me that that can't be done. Can you remind me what I pay you people for? Honestly, throw me a bone here. What do we have?
Sea bass.
Right.
They are mutated sea bass.
Really? Are they ill-tempered?
Absolutely.
Well, that's a start.
Oh my goodness. He told scientists and businessmen about his ambitions to use his New Mexico ranch as a base where women could be inseminated with his sperm and would give birth to his babies, according to award-winning scientists and advisor to large companies and wealthy individuals, all of whom Mr. Epstein told about this. It was not a secret.
Finally, I just put on a bikini and I did the Charleston above his bed. He was fully flaccid by the time I was done Charlestoning above him. I gave him a lap dance finally, but I think it was confusing for him because I was also singing a lot of Yiddish show tunes. I was grinding on him, which I thought was a fair compromise, but I was also going, "Your smile is my umbrella. How much is that doggy in the window?" He was gently weeping by the end. I think he asked to be alone at the end of his lap dance. That was his request. He said he just wanted to reflect in a dark room, and he discovered that he's no longer aroused by women.
And he wanted to enhance the DNA of these offspring. It's just, this Zorro Ranch, I could only imagine. His goal was to have 20 women at a time impregnated in this 33,000 square foot Zorro Ranch and outside Santa Fe. Mr. Lanier, one of the guys there, said that the scientist identified herself, the one that was talking about this, as working at NASA, but he didn't remember her name. NASA scientist, great. And NASA scientist said Mr. Epstein had based his idea for a baby ranch on the accounts of the repository for germinal choice, which was to be stocked with sperm of Nobel Prize laureates. It's crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. So anyway, Alan Dershowitz, good old professor emeritus of law at Harvard, recalled that at a lunch Mr. Epstein hosted Cambridge, Massachusetts, he steered the conversation towards the question of how humans could be improved genetically. Mr. Dershowitz said he was appalled given the Nazis' use of eugenics.
Nine! Jews, because of their history, have common cause with the oppressed. You're trivializing the Holocaust. If you got that kind of covert anti-Semitism, I'd like you to leave my house.
Anti-Semitism?
That's right.
Fuck you too, my man!
Whoa.
To justify their genocidal effort to purify the Aryan race. He was so appalled, of course, that he had no problem defending Mr. Epstein.
Yeah, you lie like I played a French horn.
But then again, you know, Alan Dershowitz, he has no moral scruples, in my opinion. And it gets worse from there. It really gets worse from there. Now, I'm not going to go through this whole thing. There's a lot of information. New York Times really they pulled this one apart. They did a really good job on this article. So, money to subvert scientists. Kind of reminds me of, I think this guy is literally as sick as that guy. Remember the guy in Silence of the Lambs? He's that sick. He's that twisted. He's that evil. And a lot of stuff is coming out, and the links between Ghislaine Maxwell and Robert Maxwell and the Mossad. This really should wake people up. If this doesn't wake people up, nothing will. Nothing will wake them up if this doesn't wake them up. Transhumanism and creating a little Epstein army. Just what the world needs, huh? Well, you can leave your thoughts in the comments below. Share this video with everybody you know. Go to rtrtruthmedia.blogspot.com. Smash on that PayPal button if you appreciate it.